Okay, so the quickest way to get depressed is to have some scientists for the evening talk. If you want to stretch, have a coffee, or maybe even some alcohol, I would understand if your preference is to take a break. Do you want to take a break now, or should we keep talking? Okay. So, you know what elevator pitch is? You know, when somebody is asking you, what do you do? And for me, the elevator pitch would be, as I was growing up, there was a movie called Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex, But You Were Too Afraid to Ask. Translated to my vocation would be Everything You Wanted to Know About Tourism, But You Were Too Afraid to Ask. So bear that in mind. If you're going to have any questions along those lines, don't hesitate. I have also an announcement. Today is my birthday. So, thank you. Those that will guess my age may have a beer, but also because of not really fully being sure what is your background and interests, I wasn't really quite sure what examples would be the best to show. I think that, after 20 years or so hanging out with different scientists, and my background is being pollution expert, dealing with industries, but as it was mentioned, Croatia destroyed most of the industries, so I'm now stuck with tourism. There is not much to choose in Croatia. I'm suffering what I call from the Dubrovnik syndrome. You know, people that live in Dubrovnik don't have any choice. Either they're going to work in tourism or they can just leave. Okay, so this Dubrovnik syndrome is spreading, as you can see from this nice analysis of littorization and gentrification and so on. It is like that with me. So I'm the pollution expert, which means that you sort of have to be cross-disciplinary. And now then you put tourism on the top, then you have also interdisciplinarity. So it's very hysterical in my mind because you have all different angles. And in order to set my mind straight, I'm going to do something completely different from my colleagues. I'm going to present from behind. I'm going to give you the punchline. And then if you yell you want more, I'll give you more. Is that okay with you? So it's going to take like 5 minutes, and if you want more, we can keep going. I can keep depressing you. So basically, I'm just going to jump all over this. Yes, and what is also quite important, I made a brief in English of my points of the presentation. So if you fall asleep, you can always read it. I think that the major, where is the, sorry, yeah, okay, or whatever, you can leave it like, you have to shut it off, okay. Yes, so, sustainability and all those words that are being used, sustainability is one of the oldest ones. It started with the Brundtland Commission 30 years ago or so, as they were trying to coin something, direction that should we be going. But unfortunately, this idea was translated as self-explanatory, noble thing to do. But this definition is, it had a purpose at the time, this policy document that was done, but it is constantly being misused, okay? So we have needs of the present to needs of the future, and what does it really mean? What are the needs? And then if you ask any social or other scientists, then you kind of have to put some metrics and the context in it. What I can tell you now that the needs of my children, for example, are not going to be met in a way my needs are being met. And therefore, I think it's all, excuse my French, bullshit when you're trying to moralize and say, yes, we are going to, we are striving to make it better just by using the word sustainability. What then should we be using as a term to be more precise? Because this is too vague, it's useless. is this. Sustainable development is when you waste less than you produce, or at least you keep it in equilibrium. You can, take a look at your bank account as you go to ATM to take the cash out. Are you financially sustainable? That small screen will tell you right away. It's nothing new. If you read Jared Diamond and in his work, he's mentioning that Japanese and here Austrian forestry system had a way to make the catalog of forests, and so when you're cutting, you are making sure that you are planting at least the same or more. So this is it. That's sustainability. And sustainability in tourism, from the financial side, is that we are not sustainable. This is what the European Commission says about Croatia, because we are overly dependent. That's one thing. 25% of direct and indirect GDP is coming from tourism. And since we have destroyed the industries, we are not multiplying that money. So when somebody is building a hotel or a marina, he's not building it with, Croatian, not even European produced goods and services quite often. This famous bridge that we have to Dubrovnik now was built by Chinese, which is ridiculous. So we gave money away from the system. This is stupid. My institute is 70 years old, and the point was that we were back then designed to make a system of tourism development along the coastline. And the idea was to build nice hotels, and very often those hotels from the architectural point of view are considered to be quite okay. And also to integrate local economy, because we had a big population back then. I think it was 4.8 million people lived in the Republic of Croatia. We had agriculture, we had fisheries, and we had, forestry and production of furniture and so on. So all of that was built into those hotels. And then you had the economic boom of a sort. We don't have that anymore. We don't have even people. We now have, 3.5 million? So for whom are we developing tourism? This equation, demographics, the basic question, for whom? From the people from Nepal that we are importing to work in that tourism? So what's the point of growth when you don't have the growth in the basic biological scale, and that's reproduction? So, do you want more? Yeah, okay, so I asked you. If you want more, I'll just go quickly for some examples that I think that are quite curious. First of all, let me just repeat this point. This is what European Commission said in this paper. It's ridiculous. We are the tourism country, and we are not having any multiplier effect. This is statistics and mathematics. It's nothing like, when you talk to politicians, they will not say this. And we are dumb enough not to read interesting papers and then ask them the questions. High leakage is what I've explained. We don't have any other industries, so we have to import from China. So even, the ridiculous thing like my friends and relatives from this part of Herzegovina, Međugorje, where everybody goes to see Virgin Mary, they are selling souvenirs that are made in China, the plastic, They're very proud about, their heritage in a way. They're not even able to produce this, basic souvenir. So, yes, this is what it is. Economy is not good. But there are excellent examples, and, I'm a great fan of this guy over there. What they did with in Vukomeric with sustainable building approaches is just amazing. And some people, by intuition, are doing that. And it's very important to understand the mentality. Who is doing that? Rebellious kind of people have a tendency to, or a proclivity to go into that direction, to say, okay, yeah, tourism is fine, but I do not fully trust it. And this those guys in Vila Dvor, which is in Omiš, which is historically part of Poljska Republika, and I really, I really like that mentality. Tourism is fine, but I do not fully trust it. And how do they react? They have been using what in Vukomeric have been doing as well, applying it in tourism with the basic stuff of, introducing the solar panels, not only for electricity, but also for heating. Even the elevator, when it's falling down, it produces the energy. It's not significant, but its educational purpose is brilliant because this, when you enter the elevator, then you see something, then you ask a guy, and then he explains, then this is a hook, how to get educated. The most amazing thing is that they do not waste any energy on cooling because they are nearby Cetina River, which is 15 degrees Celsius. They take this 15 degrees and then basically put it in a hotel. No electricity needed for air conditioning. And of course, because they do, trust in the, blood, sweat and tears, they do have their own garden, and everything that they sell in their restaurant is either produced there or they got from their, relatives and friends. And this is great. Why? This is hotel in the background. It's in this rock, and this is the elevator here. So this is great. Why? When COVID came, I called them. How are you going to do? And they said, come over here, you and all of your family, because hotel is empty. Why aren't you're not afraid? No, we don't have a loan with the bank. That's the major thing about being sustainable. Banking relationships. Second, we have good food. We have too much food because guests are not coming. So get your ass over here and eat what you can because it's gonna, we're gonna just have to recycle it again. So this is smart way of thinking. You consider tourism to be an extra, not the baseline of your personal survival. Why is this important for Croatian context? Is because we have which is unusual. Over 60% of, with this, 70% of accommodation is private accommodation or small boutique hotels like this. Okay, so this sustainability, which is actually being taught by a friend of mine, can be translated to tourism if you want. This is why you can always say that the tourism is a magnifier of both good and bad. It increases income and multiplies pressures to the environment. And do you want more? Yeah? Okay? You masochists. Yes, as it was explained, it's really important to bear in mind this is Mediterranean. These are persistent pollutants that you have been listening about. We already have inherited pollution that doesn't go anywhere, or mostly doesn't go anywhere, and then we are adding to it. When you take a look at what you were mentioning, DDTs, not only Africa, but Albania is not giving up on DDT, for example, and the current is going this way. Maybe we can expect some of that over here. So Mediterranean is a closed sea, and Adriatic is the closed sea of the closed sea. Also, the depth here, what would be like 1,000 meters, like Otrant. And over here, 30 meters on the average? So it's much better, and it's my mistake. We should have this transect picture, and then it would be like this. And then basically over here on the northern Adriatic is just a thin line. Okay, so this is what we have to understand. That's one of the points when you're trying to immerse the information you heard before me, that we have this scale problem and the volume problem that is making us in a risk, considering this risky situation. So I got famous by accident because I did, in my PhD research, cruise tourism environmental impacts. And so basically calculating so-called negative externalities of cruise tourism, meaning pollution. How do you calculate negative impacts into economic terms, and why is that important? Well, it is important because everybody's talking about economic benefits of tourism. So you can kind of compare and see, does it make sense? And what are the expenses? There are expenses that are direct and obvious, and I have calculated only a fragment of direct expenses. I wasn't going into into expenses such as health expenses. So when you have air pollution, especially from cruise ships, like this picture, and I'm going to explain it, then asthma with children increases. In heavily polluted ports, asthma with children on the average is 30 to 60% higher. Okay. Everybody says that they like children, and you have a UNICEF person asking you to buy, Christmas cards. You're going to buy it because, that's a reflex. But when you consider these things, then, it's not so, when it's not so obvious, it's different to relate. So this cruise ship, as it was explained, pollution is happening all the time. This cruise ship, how do cruises work? They have clean fuel department, and then I have dirty fuel department. And the difference is like when you've been watching the movies when they discover oil, it comes out. So they take this oil, they basically remove the obvious things, and then they burn it. If you want to have this oil converted into gasoline for a car, you have to go, I think, do almost 35 or 40 derivations, they call it. And then you have this, then you have this clean fuel. So they, being very powerful, freight companies and corporations dealing with maritime transport and cruising, they said, we are not going to be part of the scheme where the pollution is going to be controlled, nor where polluter is paying. And I wrote a couple of papers. I did my PhD, wrote a couple of papers about it. And what happened is basically that I did the footprinting. What is behind me is just calculating per day how many you are, as a guest, producing solid waste, air pollution, black waters, including the copper. And the result of that was that you could sum up, ponder this basic pollution and calculate the cost, which was 328 million euros. And cost-benefit analysis was then that, cost-benefit analysis showed that the pollution was seven times, this basic pollution calculation was 7 times larger than the economic benefits for the local economy. Of course, the benefits of cruise corporations are very large. So what is crazy is this. This is Dubrovnik. The picture was taken from the old port, right, from Lazareti, if you know Dubrovnik. And then you would see this. On this side, you have the Regal Princess with 5,000 people. On this side, you have this old hotel, Excelsior. Okay. And I'm not going to, be, very noble and speak about anything else but money. 37 euros, supposedly, I think it's even less. This is 37 gross, meaning how much money they per capita spend, including all of the fees the ship has to pay, blah, 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 blah. So it's gross. And this is only, and this is the amount how much you get per room. So in what world of economic decision-making this makes more sense than this? Okay? There is no economic sense behind this. Untransparency, corruption, maybe. I don't know, don't ask me. But the result of the paper writing, and the only good thing about it, is that everybody ignored me or us. I remember we were writing to authorities in Šibenik, in Dubrovnik. Šibenik responded in a way, they were curious. Dubrovnik ignored us completely. Why is that? When you discover something of such a magnitude and scale of risk, you're obliged to report. And this is what we did, we wrote. And Dubrovnik completely ignored that pollution aspect, and they're obviously ignoring the common monetary sense. Okay? Do you want more? No? Or should I finish it up? Go? Okay, this is a big masochist. Any other takers? Yeah? No? So, this is the city of Crikvenica, and you can do some things like just basically calculating if you have proper data. And the point of my presentation, if you do not monitor, you cannot manage. Or if you do not monitor, then you are purposely managing in a way it is not transparent, and somebody, particular groups will benefit, the benefit will not be distributed in a fair way. So, but we have a different, story here, because, tourism is easy money. If you have a real estate, you convert it so you can rent it, and, that's fair enough. What do you do with that money? Well, I don't know, but it's really interesting that the people that are making a lot of money, Croatian citizens that are making a lot of money out of renting, are not really investing into the knowledge. Meaning that when you take this look at the statistics of how many children go to for the university level of degree, baccalaureate, how do you call this? Yeah. So in the coastal municipalities is on the average much lower, and in tourism intense cities and municipalities, children do not have a lesser tendency to go into the higher education. So, okay, you're making easy money, and you are not reinvesting for the best thing you could do, and that is yourself, meaning the knowledge. Maybe, cosmetic surgery, I do not consider investing in yourself. Maybe it is for somebody. So this is the example of how the city of Crikvenica, for you that you don't know, just basically grew enormously with this tourism segment, and touristification by the means of individuals, the citizens. We have 12,000 citizens. We have 18,000 homeowners that are not from Crikvenica. We have a black market or unregistered tourists of 28,000. I can explain later if you want to know how did we come about this figure. And then you have the line of the coastline, because the tourism over there is sun and sea. So add up the people and then see how much you have for the bathing area, which is 13.8 kilometers. So you can just basically calculate that all the people in the destination have 22 centimeters of the coastline for enjoyment, meaning that 33,000 people that go for a swim use this much amount, meaning this number is then the point. 3.8 square meters per person in the bathing area. Okay, now we have the number. So what do you do with that? Basically, you use the architectural and urbanistic standards. Okay? You take any book that is being that you use when you're trying to design something for tourism, then you will have this. So if you have luxury, you should have at least 20 to 30 square meters. Middle standard is 15 square meters per swimmer or per visitor of a beach or coastal area. It looks like this in person, so the densities are like this when you visualize, or maybe, like this. So what is the point of what I'm trying to say? I think that the tourism on the coastline is basically suffering from what Hardin called the tragedy of commons, or the common pool principle. If I create, another apartment, so I have, 5, not 4, it's not going to make any difference. But everybody is thinking like that. And everybody is then going to contribute, and then you have over-tourism, and the game is over. So Hardin, tragedy of commons, it's basically, if you have a forest that anybody can just, take a tree, pretty soon the forest will disappear. This is what is happening in tourism. Why it is happening? Because of, we should blame ourselves, not to exclude politicians as, the government is doing that. No. The thing is that since you have this, as I've said, proclivity to, trying to make, a bit better for yourself without, not considering the bigger picture, but, slightly wider picture of your own local community, you are going to end up like people in Crikvenica, like this. Nobody can say that they do not have the tools. I mean, all those 12,000 citizens, this is obviously not Crikvenica, this is Bol. We did the same study for Bol on Brač. But so all of them had an opportunity to intervene, not through the elections, but through taking a look at the proposed spatial planning changes. So you have a spatial plan that is being exhibited in municipality or town, and what people go there, they go and take a look at their property and how they're going to maximize their benefit. They're not going to take a look, is there going to be a kindergarten? Is there going to be a school? This is why I kind of don't feel sorry for people from Zadar, as the example was shown, because they had the opportunity to say, look, maybe we should have a school over here, or a doctor, as you were mentioning, because there is none, 3 or 5 kilometers around. So you are in a pile of your own making. And I think you heard enough from me. If you have any questions, we can proceed later with that. Thank you.